Ah! Too many buttons. Too many options. Hi! Welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, trying something different for you today. Something I'm going to call Pre-Brews, because it's not a word, but if it were one, it would rhyme with previews. So we're getting preview cards. Most people, most YouTube personalities, most Magic players, most everybody in the Discord, most everybody everywhere is going to have opinions about the preview cards. And they're going to do something like this. They're going to click on this button, and they're going to show you a screen. And they're going to say, this is the card. They're going to read it to you. They're going to say, Legion Warboss, 2 in a red, Goblin Soldier, rare, Mentor. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. That token has haste until end of turn. It attacks this combat if able. It is a 2/2. This is from the new Guilds of Ravnica expansion coming out next month. And we're in preview season. They are going to start showing you cards. And people, like I'm saying, on the internet are gonna open up their little window, read you the card, and tell you what they think of it. I'm gonna say this card's good. I'm gonna say this card's bad. I am just like them, with a little difference. Lists, deck lists. I'm going to pre-brew some deck lists right off the bat, and I'm gonna show you, and I know they're not complete, and I know they're probably hard to gauge whether or not they're tier 1, but from the get-go, we're gonna look at actual lists with the new cards. Lists. Gotta work on my enunciation. With the new cards. And that's what these videos are for. So welcome to the first episode of Pre-Brews, and today's we're going to look at Legion Warboss. I just read you the card. People are comparing this to Goblin Rabblemaster. Goblin Rabblemaster, an absolute all-star in its day, makes a 1/1 with haste that attacks the turn it comes into play. The Mentor ability compared to the attacking +1/+0 ability is interesting. Rabblemaster could hit for a lot more damage, but this also piles up the damage very well. The pedigree is already excellent. It looks like the card's going to be an all-star in a relevant tribe. So, what immediately jumps to mind is goblins. We should play this with other goblins. I know, brilliant. The insight you can only get here. Let's get right to it. So here's a goblins thing thrown together. What do we have in our goblin tribe? Well, there's the great and the mighty Chainwhirler. Of course, our lord is the Trashmaster. +1/+1. Sacrificing a goblin, destroy an artifact. I don't know how relevant that will be with Kaladesh on the way out, but it can't be a poor idea. And if Karn is around, if there's an artifact deck, Karn is going to find it. Siege Gang Commander is lurking in the format. We know about that. And there, of course, is our new Legion Warboss friend with Goblin Warchief, Skirk Prospector, Shocks, Lightning Strikes, all the goodness. Honestly, it's a tribal deck. It's very straightforward. Here's some creatures, here's some burn. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of Legion Warboss synergy going on right now with the goblins that we have. It's just more dorks and good goblins. I'm not inspired. Now, it is pretty darn good with Goblin Warchief. You play your Warboss, and it makes a token, and they can all attack the same turn. It only costs 2 off a Warchief. I guess that's a thing. Still, this is... When I look at this deck, do I think like tier 1? Do I think like this is what the format has to stop? No, it might be good. But right now, it's missing some power. It's missing a powerful 2-drop Goblin Instigator hanging out here. The opponents are also going to be Whirling Chains, by the way, so we can't get too attached to it. What if we just took Warboss and put it into a more traditional red deck wins type thing with just solid red cards and no tribalness? Well, I'm glad you asked. RDW. Rockstar Rekindling Phoenix holding down the fort. Goblin Chainwhirler, of course. The Wizards package. We've got an extra kind of bonus wizard over here in Dismissive Pyromancer, who is... it has a rummage effect. Discard and draw a card. 2 mana 2/2, 3, sacrifice it, 4 damage to target creature. This is a card that's in the format, but hasn't seen a lot of play yet. And as you see, the price, it started out high, dropped horribly. Just hasn't gotten a lot done. With Soulscar Mage leaving, we need more wizards for the Wizards Lightning anyway. We don't have good 2-drops. Our 2-drops are very meh, but Warboss sure does make for a great 3. So we're looking for an awesome red 2-drop, something that can deal 3 damage, preferably like a 3/2, preferably not a 3/1. No thank you, Goblin Chainwhirler. But we're looking for some kind of a 3/2 or could be 3/3, like with a drawback. Goblin, preferably, type creature. If we get that in previews, or a wizard, then we'll be in much better shape with this deck. Flame of Keld, we don't have Hazoret anymore. Flame of Keld has proven it can hold its own. Overall, the deck obviously lost a lot of speed and is not what it used to be. I think we are also the 1-drop. The only 1-drop we've got here is the Lavarunner. We need a good 1-drop and a good 2-drop for this red deck to be super viable. However, if we get those things, if we get a powerful 1-drop and or 2-drop that can really pile on the damage, the 4 spot with Rekindling Phoenix and the 3 spot with the Chainwhirler and the Warboss is on frickin' lockdown. This is handled. You don't have to worry about this stuff. All right, but with the way that things are going, can we push some of the other synergies of the Warboss? It makes tokens. There's already a red-white token deck, though not highly played because of Chainwhirler. What do we get if we go into the token strategy? Let's have a look-sees. What is up? So we got to talk about another new card. This is Boros Challenger, and while I'm focused on the Warboss because it's in all of these decks, we will show some other cards along the way, which is a good thing. You want your set to already have cards that work well together, and we've got it. Boros Challenger, red and white, 2/3. So the body is solid. Mentor, that +1/+1 thing, excellent way to build up other creatures. And for 4 mana, a +1/+1 pump. It's hard to tell how good this is, but the important thing to remember about it when you look at it is try to think of it as +2/+2, but put out on 2 bodies. So when you pump this and attack with, say, another Boros Challenger or any 2-power creature, then you not only have a 3/4 for the turn, but you put a counter on that other creature. It's also attacking for 3, and so forth. So I believe that you can stack the triggers such that if you have a 2, and a 2, and you pump 1 and you attack, you can put a trigger on the other challenger for a 3, and then the other challenger puts on the 2-drop to make another 3, or the 2-power to make another 3. So, tough little guy. Tough cookie right here, the Boros Challenger. And it's in this deck, along with another new card, Conclave Triburnal. This is a card I'm extremely excited about because it gives creatures a creature deck something it really needs. So this is 3 and a white. Enchantment Convoke. This is the good part. Your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell, pay 1 mana of the creature's color. So you can tap your creatures, like your token creatures, to cast this. So you're not usually paying 4. What I foresee is that this card will often be a like 1 or 2 mana removal spell if you tap a couple little tokens or smaller creatures for it, which is awesome. And when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it's like a cast out, it's like an Oblivion Ring, it's like an Ixalan's Binding without this second clause. I do think it's better than Ixalan's Binding in decks with creatures. I think that you're going to want to be able to play this. Remember, you can tap creatures that are summoning sick to use Convoke. So if you say make 2 creatures, then pay 2 mana and tap those 2 creatures to also exile your opponent's best creature, that's a good double spell turn. I do think this will... I wish it had Flash. That's the only thing. If it had Flash, it would be totally sweet and an excellent, way above bar replacement for Cast Out. As is, it's good. And I think it will be a 4 of in all the decks that use the creatures to take out Teferi or whatever big blocker your opponent has, whatever. All right, that's most of the new cards. The other new card worth discussing is Sacred Foundry, the return of Shocklands. is a big deal. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. So it's an ETB tapped land, but you can pay 2 life, so that's not tapped. And it does count as a Mountain Plains, which means cards like Clifftop Retreat that rely on Mountain Plains enter the battlefield untapped as well. As you see, it's been reprinted multiple times. Actually, no, never mind. That's not what that shows. But it has been reprinted multiple times. This one, for example, is from Gatecrash, a different set, but they're coming back. They are called Shocklands. They help aggro the most. Aggro doesn't mind paying 2 life to get ahead, and aggro having access to multiple colors is a big deal to be able to play guilds like Boros and play your spells on time. They don't hurt control. Control decks still run these, and sometimes having your answer on time is even more important than the 2 life. But you won't pay 2 life as often with control decks. These are only coming out in the 5 guilds that are launching with the Guilds of Ravnica. So we get the green-white one, we get the blue-black one, we get the green-black one, we get the red-white one, and we get the one I forgot. Whatever that is. Oh, Steam Vents. Or no, not Steam Vents. Salt. I get Sulphur Falls. Yeah, it is Steam Vents. Steam Vents. Yep, that's the other one. I do get those mixed up all the time. Anyway, let's get back to the deck. Red-white tokens. What are we up to here? Pounding the face. We got the Warboss. We got Conclave Triburnal. We have Heroic Reinforcements, which is like this forgotten M19 card that just dominates Limited, but needs to make it to Standard. History of Benalia, Goblin Instigator, like all these things that make 2 dorks. Like this is 1 dork, this is 1 dork, but then it's like 2 dork, 2 dork, 2 dork, 2 dork. We've got Ajani, another 4-drop here that we can play and pump our squad up. It also gets back challengers and instigators. We got Pride of the Conquerors for the big overrun effects. We've got our new Sacred Foundry Clifftop Retreat mana base, the Oodalali. We've also, I'm running Charge, and you're gonna see Charge in a few decks. My idea is for 1 mana you negate the Goblin Chainwhirler ability that would otherwise ruin your deck. I don't know how big of a deal Goblin Chainwhirler will be in the new format, but it is worth assuming people will show up with their Chainwhirlers, at least for a while. So having a card like Charge that you can just pay for 1 mana. Also, if you're on the play, you can go Legion's Landing, Goblin Instigator, turn 3, attack with the critters, all 1/1s, flip over the Legion's Landing, and still play a different 3-drop. So you could play a Warboss or a History of Benalia. Your opponent untaps, they go for Goblin Chainwhirler. Because you flipped your Legion's Landing, you go Charge, it don't hurt you. You untap, you Pride of the Conquerors, your opponent cries in a corner. That's, anyway, the way that I'm looking at using Charge, which is why you'll see it in here. It's mainly a Chainwhirler thing. You don't need it. I would rather be running something else that made more creatures, but if Chainwhirler's around, I'm gonna Charge. Also, you'll notice I'm not gonna work on sideboards at all. I'm sticking to my best of 1 arena guns. I like best of 1 a lot, so I'm trying to build decks for best of 1. They aren't the finest of tuned, but it's all for fun. When you look at your curves, remember our 4-drops, as ugly as that may be, Conclave Triburnal, I still think is going to be more like a 2-drop, sometimes even a 1-drop. In fact, it can be a 0-drop. You can pay the white cost with any white creature. So, yeah, good times in red-white tokens. Now that you're on this track, though, maybe there's something missing. If this sort of strategy is good, and we're just jamming token decks into token decks, what are we doing? How do we get an edge? What if we brought in the Path of Mettle? The Path of Mettle, yes, you remember the Path. The Path, stay on the Path. When it enters the battlefield, 1 damage each creature that doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste. When you attack with at least 2 creatures with those keywords, you flip it, and then you have this awesome burn engine that also destroys attackers. Hasn't really shined, but let's pull it out. Remember our little Warboss here, our new friend, makes Hasty Goblins. Hasty Goblins do work with the Path. Now, what else do we have that has the right keywords? Firebrand, Knight of Grace, Rekindling Phoenix can. If it dies, it comes back with haste, remember. Plus, I thought this deck just needed a power kick in the butt. History of Benalia makes Vigilance, a few Rigging Runners, some Relentless Raptors, the Heroic Reinforcements, remember those tokens gain haste, so it can flip the path all on its own, and more Tribunals. Interesting deck. I think the power factor is a little higher with Rekindling Phoenix in the deck, hanging out with History of Benalia. I think this one punches a bit harder than the last one. So I think it's okay, but I'm still sort of seeing these vanilla Boros decks that look exciting but don't blow my mind. And I worry about mana. Double white for History of Benalia, double red for Rekindling Phoenix. Seems like a lot can go wrong with no way to filter your draw, with no way to manipulate your colors. Is there a way that we can get better mana and an aggressive base? I'm glad you asked. Yes, there is. And possibly for the first time ever, you get seriously paid off for tribal, because you have another land that's basically an into-play untapped dual land in unclaimed territory, which you name your type and then you get your mana for your type. So here's a tribe that you probably haven't seen. Soldier Tribal. Name Soldier. Naming Soldier lets us play all kinds of ridiculous stuff. So we got Radiant Destiny for the full tribal experience, and the Unclaimed Territory to help the mana. The Legion Warboss is a Goblin Soldier. The Boros Challenger is a Human Soldier. The Sky Marcher Aspirant and the Adanto Vanguard. Vampire Soldier, Militia Bugler, Human Soldier. Leonin War Leader, Cat Soldier. Bring them all together, what do you got? Even the Heroic Reinforcements, yes indeed, they make soldiers. Soldier Tribal, and I'm actually kind of stoked about this. A few awesome things in Soldier Tribal is we can try to dodge the Chainwhirler by getting Radiant Destiny down. That's pretty sweet. Militia Bugler actually gives it gas and finds your war bosses more often. How about the Mentor ability combined with a card like Adanto Vanguard, which can gain Indestructible? When you attack with the Vanguard and the mentoring creature, like Boros Challenger, you can stack your triggers to resolve the Challenger first, pumping your Vanguard, and then your Vanguard gets its bonus. Hence, bigger, stronger, indestructible potentially, soldiers charging in, super aggressive. I'm a little hyped about this one. I don't know why, but when I look at the deck so far, this is the one that says this could be good. Like this is the one that calls to me, so to speak. Especially with the punching power here of the War Leader. Now, I don't know if we want 4, and there's surely some numbers that can be edited, and maybe there's some shocks and lightning strikes that go in the deck. The mana curve is pretty intense, but remember that we have Tribunal, so it's got that cost reduction. And maybe all the War Leaders, I'm just excited to play this now that Chandra is gone. I'm excited to play this now that Glorybringer is gone. But at the same time, I know you put it out there and the Chupacabra makes you sad. But you get to attack with this once and it's so good. Militia Bugler can find so many cards. Challengers, War Bosses, Vanguards. It's probably a really good spot for the Buggles. Alrighty, and of course you have Heroic Reinforcements and the better mana. This deck, for some reason, gets me tingling. But of all of them, Naya Zoo. Wow. Can we play 3-color aggro again? Can we bring it back? Can we go back to a place where you play shards or more colors and play a zoo deck? I think we can, and I'm gonna have to introduce you to some more new cards. Let's start down here. We have Temple Garden. You've met Temple Garden is the shock land for the white and the green, so that makes the deck tick. But how about Amara? Amara, Soul of the Accord. When it becomes tapped, create a 1/1 soldier creature token with lifelink. So obviously attacking taps this creature for you. However, that is not the only way to do it. You're probably thinking vehicles, but remember those are rotating, so no vehicles. What about something else? What about, oh yeah, Convoke. Convoke lets you tap cards and play, such as Conclave Tribunal, lets you tap your Emara and make another dork. So that's a good little engine. What about another way? Oh yeah, Song of Freyalise. This card. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain tap, add a mana of any color. That's pretty relevant in a 3-color deck. And then on the third chapter, +1/+1, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible to all your dorks. So you play Emara, you play a Song of Freyalise, you tap Emara for mana, you make more dorks. Hype! That does the trick. And let's look down the deck list. Shauna Sisay's Legacy, +1/+1 for each creature you control can't be targeted by abilities, which is interesting. That includes enchantments. I don't know how many times people have tried to seal this away. Doesn't work. All right, so that's in there. We got Charge. Again, Chainwhirler on my mind. I got chains on the brains, and that's what you're doing there. But you'll see that this deck isn't as vulnerable. The migrations definitely are vulnerable, but the rest of the deck can be out of Chainwhirler range. Boros Challenger making an appearance again, also trying to get your cards out of that nasty Chainwhirler range. And the songs we talked about, History of Benalia, Legion Warboss, Heroic Reinforcements. I mean, this deck also tugs my little heartstrings because it just looks like it does so many nutty things. And there's so much more you can do. There's no Legions landing in this deck right now. There's no Shalai, the Voice of Plenty, in the deck right now. There's probably a lot more ways to take advantage of this that I haven't completely explored. Not only that, look at these. We got Legend over here, we got Legend over here. If there's a few more Legends that fit into the deck, suddenly we're talking about using Mox Amber to ramp even better. We have a pair of 2-mana Legends. You don't need that many more to start thinking about Mox Amber ramping you to 4 mana or more. Also, the whole thing with Song coming down and Warboss making more dorks and playing History of Benalia, seems like this deck could really vomit out onto the board and go nuts, just hand vomit style. And look at the mana base. Look at all the dual lands we get to run. We're not even running all of them. We've got some Sun Petal Groves, but the Gardens and the Foundries, along with the check lands, really make something like this possible. And we actually have 16 sources of white, 14 sources of red and green, at least the last time I did my maths. I like it. And the curve is so sharp. Remember, those 4 of those 4 drops are the Tribunals. So yeah, this hits them up hard, is what I'm trying to say. And I look forward to trying decks like this. Alrighty, that is gonna be the first video in this series, and it's pre-brew season here on channel CGB. Let me know if you liked the video and if you want more of these for the new cards as they are revealed, especially the good ones. There are some cards where you might say, hey, do something with this, and I'm like, that card's a vanilla 2/2 for 4. What do you want from me? But when it comes to a great card like Legion Warboss, yeah, I can rattle out some ideas. Which deck do you think is best? I would love to hear in the comments. Maybe I'll figure out how to put a poll. Maybe I can build a straw poll, and you can vote for which deck you like the best in description. All right, check it out. All the deck lists are going to be there too. And if you want more deck lists, and if you want to talk more previews, join the Discord, link in description. And again, please leave me comments. Do you want more of these videos? I need to know. When you tell me you want more, I try to oblige. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you with the next set of pre-brews.